chapter 2. I didn't bring a Bible, I'm going to be throwing a lot of Nehemiah 2 up on the board so you get an idea of what's what and who's who. For those folks who haven't been here for the series, we got off on a little bit. We had a communion Sunday last Sunday, and so we came from another text. But the Nehemiah, we're doing a whole lot of study, especially the ladies' Bible studies, doing a lot in the book of Psalms. And a word that keeps cropping up time after time is nevertheless. And I thought, well, how about the positive of that? It's always the more. It's nevertheless, it's always the more, which is kind of the story of Nehemiah and a talk of leadership. Because whether we like it or not, we all have a sphere of influence, especially if we don't want to have it and deny it. We still have a power of influence over some folks, whether they're children, grandchildren, people in the neighborhood, older and younger. People are looking at you. You have a sphere of influence. And so the power of we is going to be talking about that from Nehemiah chapter 2. Now, I'm not going to go back and do a bunch of history. If you didn't get that, get on the internet and go back a couple of sermons and stuff where we went to seed on this, and you got more history than you ever wanted to know about. The point is, during Israel's history, they were together for a while, about probably 100 years or so. They were together under three kings, King Saul, King David, and King Solomon. Solomon and David both ruled 40 years apiece. Saul a little shorter than that. But the idea is that was the golden age of Israel. They controlled all of what we know today as Israel, and most, frankly, of Syria and Jordan and down into almost Saudi Arabia. It was a larger country at that time, and that was what the Lord actually prescribed when He started saying, this is the area I'm going to give to Abraham. That's the only time in existence that the Jews actually controlled all that piece of land. After King Solomon died, the two entities could not get along with each other. You had 10 tribes to the north broke away, and you had two Jewish states, one called Israel, which was the northern 10 tribes, and the southern 2 tribes was called Judah. We follow Judah because that's the line that Jesus is coming through, and it actually lasted longer. The 10 tribes fell to the Assyrians, which would have been up in here. Nineveh, we would know it today as Mosul. It's still there. Half the city is an archaeological dig. It's kind of funny. Ancient Nineveh is right in the middle of Mosul. And they came down and took the 10 tribes out and made them slaves. Just tore them up, took them away. 2 tribes were left. They tried to take Judah, could not. God stepped in. You can read that in the scripture as well. But they held on. Now, that was another 150 years or so. They held on. The Assyrians had passed away, and a new group, the Babylonians, came along. Now, you'll see this little jump right here. That's the way everyone traveled. No one went like this. They still don't even today. It's no man's land. It looks like Mars. It looks more Mars than Mars looks like Mars. It's terrible. This is what is called the Fertile Crescent. That's why it's nice and populated and all that. Tigris, Euphrates, river valleys and all that. And so the idea is Babylon came along, whipped up on Syria, and then came down and took all the vassal nations, especially down into Judah with Jerusalem. A guy by the name of Nebuchadnezzar, you may have remembered that name in Bible talk and all that, took Judah away. Now, tore up the land, broke down the walls, tore down the temple, just wreaked havoc on Jerusalem. Took all the folks away as slaves, not all, the cream of the crop, smartest of the smart. They took them as slaves, marched them 800 miles, this is 800 miles by the way, back to Babylon, but then they didn't make them slaves like you would think of slaves. You'll know these slaves. They're called Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Later on it will be Esther, those kind of folks. Those are the ones that got sort of taken back. Through generations, 70 years in captivity in Babylon, those guys kind of came up. They did government jobs. They put them in if they were silversmiths, goldsmiths, whatever, carpenters, whatever. They put them to work and started gave them their businesses. And so they started making money, started getting entrenched into Babylonian culture. And so the idea is when it came time to maybe go home, because Babylon fell too in about 70 years, a guy by the name of Cyrus the Great, Cyrus the Persian, came and took over Babylon. And the first year he was in there said, yeah, all you guys who've been captives from other places, Israel, you want to go home? Go home, okay, if you want to. Most didn't, because they'd already found a temple away from temple called the synagogue. And 10 families would get together, hire a person that was righteous and religious, so to speak, to kind of watch over them, read the Torah, stay up on it. They became rabbis, and those synagogues popped up all over. They could teach their kids Hebrew, they keep the Hebrew culture going, all that kind of stuff happened in Babylon. But some did go back. You're going to have a group under Zerubbabel go up, way up over the crescent and down. He's going to go back and actually rebuild the temple. Now, it's not near as big as it's going to be in times future. It's not what they had, but it was a temple. Back up. We're back up running again. Then they started building houses and sort of forgot about the temple because they were building houses. And so the idea was that it went for about 70 years or so under Zerubbabel, and then they realized exactly why did we come back? You know, it's like, weren't we supposed to come back and be a country and all that kind of stuff, you know? And so another guy from Babylon named Ezra takes another crew back after, I think it's about 50, 60 years rather. And then 13 years after Ezra goes back and has a revival. So let's get our act together. Here's the scrolls. We're going to read the Torah again, all that kind of stuff. Now, word comes back from that crew through a brother, literal brother, comes back all the way to Babylon, and when they're not in Babylon anymore, they're over here. The Medo-Persians, they didn't really like Babylon because it was someone else's city. They ruled it for a while, but they moved it over to Susa, over here, Shushan on this map, Susa, which was a holiday palace that turned into their capital because it was more them, so it was Medo-Persians. And so with that, you're going to have all those folks over there say, you know, this is awful. We've had all of our walls and all that defense and actually having a nation fall apart for 70 years. Then we sent a guy back, he rebuilt that. It's another 50, 60 years. Now there's 13 years with Ezra trying to get a revival going and all that. It's 160 years now that all those walls and everything have just been in a shambles in Jerusalem. It's been a mess. A lot of the folks in that area are being ruled by folks from all over, not the Jews. And so you've got a real mess that is going on. That's where we dropped into the story with Nehemiah. So I don't believe in the Bible. I don't really go, well, who knows whether those people exist? We got pictures of them. That's him, right there. That's Nehemiah. This is Darius, okay, King Darius, you know, because he's got the golden goblet, but he's holding the scepter, so he's in control. His son coming behind him is going to be ruling right after. He's got the cup, but not the scepter yet. You see that? His name is Xerxes. If you saw the movie The 300 and stuff, that's the guy that has all the rings and stuff. That's Hollywood. This is what they really actually look like. You can tell their needs because they have the little flat hats. If they were Persians, they have the little bump hats like that. That's what's on this mural. All these guys are Medes and Persians except this guy. He's a Jewish slave. He doesn't get the bump hat and stuff. He's got this little sock hat that looks like Sleepy or Dopey. Okay? I always like that. And he doesn't get a beard. They got beard because they're Benjamin. Okay? There we go. He doesn't have a beard, but he's got his hands crossed and in the towel. He's a cupbearer. Cupbearer had one major job. Keep the king alive. That is, I eat all the stuff he eats, I drink all the stuff he drinks, about 10, 20 minutes before he does, so if it's poison, I die. He watches me after I eat, you're alive, must be good. So he goes for it. While he is there, he gets to be a confidant because you're getting to be friends with the guy who's keeping you alive, and so the king started liking him. So he comes in at the end of Darius, goes with his son Xerxes, which doesn't last long, and the guy who's not in the mural right there is the guy he's really the cupbearer for, and that is Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes' is son, and it's 20 years into his reign when Nehemiah hits this. He gets word from home. His brother comes back and says, it's 160 years. That place has been in a mess. They're just walking all over the stones. They just don't see it anymore. They need the walls back up. They just don't see it. I made the comment a couple of weeks ago and everybody's punching their husbands. I'm so sorry. Is when you get a mess and you get used to the mess, you just don't see it anymore. You know, you pull in the garage and there it is, and yeah, well, it's been that way for 3 months. It'll be there for another month or so. It'll be waiting for me sometime. And you just get used to the mess. And you don't pick it up or anything, you just step over it. Now, everyone else on the planet can see it. You just don't see it anymore. It's 160 years of just rocks all over the place, and they're walking all over them, don't think a thing about it. That's where they are. Now, when we're talking today, we're going to be talking about Nehemiah's Jerusalem, which is real different. This is the map you normally get for the New Testament. This is what it looked like during Jesus' day. This is the wall during Jesus' day, and it went like this right here. There's the Jesus' day one. This is the Roman one that was after Jesus' day. That is why they were able to go outside the city walls to Golgotha and the tomb and all that and crucify him outside the city walls, which later on will be inside the city walls. These were great big suburbs that are out here. When we're talking Nehemiah's day, it is just the city of David. It is Mount Moriah, where the now the Gold Dome building is in Dome of the Rock. But the temple was up here. Then there's a middle part called the Ophel, and then the old city of David. Looks like Florida sticking down here, okay? That is all the city is during Nehemiah's day. It's going to be right here. You're going to see a picture of it in just a minute. But I want you to see that there is a topographical problem with this, and it's going to come up today. There's a major, huge valley that runs down here called the Kidron Valley. The Mount of Olives is up here, which is a taller mountain than actually Mount Moriah here stands up over it. Then you're going to have a small valley, this Dracolean Valley, that runs right down the middle of this, which during this time would have creeks that would run down it. Sometimes being dry in a dry water, but most of the time had water in it. And then a huge Hinnom Valley that runs down this way. So you have the intersection of 3 gulches, you might say, coming down here. That's going to come into play today. If you wanted to see it during Nehemiah's day, that's what it looked like. So when you're talking about rebuilding the wall, it's not the huge wall of Jerusalem. It is the city of David wall. Okay? And that's what I wanted you to see. There's the Kidron Valley coming through, the Hinnom Valley, and the Dracolean Valley. This is the minor one, but it is significant if you're a city planner, because during the New Testament times, the city went out here and up and over here. So it's on a hillside right here. Later on, it'll be way up there over the map. But this is the map that we're talking about today, right here. As I said, this looks like Florida sticking down there. Here we go. Now, you know the story that we've done so far. He says, I'm the cupbearer of the king. I got sad because my brother came back. I prayed about it, and he prayed from November to April about it without mentioning a thing, and he really didn't mention a thing. He came in, he just was burdened about it and was sad, and you're not sad in front of the king, otherwise you lose your head. Literally, lose your head. And so he gets himself, may the king live forever. I'm sorry I was sad in your presence, sir. Okay? The idea is, he says, no, what's wrong? He's been with this family through through 2 kings, and then he's 20 years into this king. He said, what's wrong? You helped raise me. What, I know you, and I don't see you being sad like this. He says, the city of my fathers, I've gotten word, is still torn up. It's been 160 years since anyone's done anything to it. You know, he said, what do you want? What do you want to do about it? During those months of prayer, he just doesn't pray, God, you know, whatever, he'll fix those walls. He's thought about what it takes. And he said, let me go and rebuild those walls. Here are the letters that I'm going to need. Here are the provinces that I'm going to go through. I'm going to need a security detail. I'm going to need to be able to pick up materials, and I especially need gates and stuff that's going to take wood. The Middle East doesn't have much wood. I'm going to have to stop in Lebanon at the King's Forest and get rafts of wood made, float them down the Mediterranean, and bring them inshore log by log. He's thought this thing out, even to the point of saying, well, how long will you be gone? So I'm going to have to get a substitute to start eating my stuff. You know, I'm not going to do it, okay? Got to have a kind of a cupbearer here somewhere. How long will you be gone? He even gives him a date. Got it down. He's thought about it that much. So the plan is, he goes back. Now we drop in the story. As he goes back to Jerusalem, for the first time in his life, he's never been here. The city of his fathers sees it the way it is, and I love it. In verse 11 of chapter 2, he says, I came into Jerusalem, and I was there for 3 days. He gets oriented. For the graduates, realize wherever you go from this point after graduating, give yourself a moment to get oriented. You were hot stuff where you were, because you got it down. Okay? No matter what, if you're high school or college, you know, you're a freshman, everybody beats you up, you feel stupid and all that. Sophomore year, you think you know something, you don't. You're the most dangerous of all that. Never take classes that people say who are sophomores. I'll take this one, they don't know anything. Okay, they just survived a year and they should be through. Okay, juniors are getting pretty good. Okay, in fact, I tell juniors in high school, enjoy this, best year of your life, period. It's the only year in your life where you're really, last year, that you'll kind of know where you're going to be this time next year. Okay, as a senior, you don't know. The next year, who knows where you'll be, you know, what you'll be doing. And then the rest of your life is that way. So enjoy that. Okay. Those seniors, you were hot stuff just a moment ago. Put a little parchment in your hand. You go on from there. When you get somewhere else, get oriented just a minute. It's not all about you. It's all about other folks and what they're doing too. Get oriented. That's what he's doing. He's getting oriented to a whole new place of which he knows what's on the back of his mind, but no one else does. Ready? It says, then I arose by night. Notice what he's doing. He's not out there jumping around all over the place because he's got enough attention anyway. You hit town with an entourage coming from the king, you look like royalty and you look like business, everyone starts getting nervous. It's kind of like, you know, someone from the IRS sitting in your front office. It's like, why are they here? Okay? Even though they might just be coming to say, I want to give you an award for doing so well on your taxes. No. Yeah, that is a joke. Here it comes. It says, then I rose in the night and took a few men with me, because it's at night and it's scary and there's no walls and people can just maraud around and do whatever they want. And I told no one what God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Still there 3 days, no one knows why he's there. He could have come and said, I have an edict from the king, this is what I'm supposed to do. Well, no, he didn't. Came in, got oriented for 3 days, now he goes out at night. He's going on a recon mission, seeing what in the world have I been told, is it really true? I'm finding out for myself. Put it in my heart to do. Nor was there any animal with me except the one that I rode. In other words, all the other guys kind of falling all over themselves. He's on a donkey, horse, or whatever. Okay? So he's riding along at night through a bunch of torn up. Here it comes. Ready? It says, I went out by night and went through the valley gate, through the serpent well, and the refuse gate. Now, He's putting in details, and that's on purpose. You're going to see why in just a minute. And viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down. I guess 160 years worth. It's not like it happened yesterday. It's not just weeds growing over them. People have built like little bridges and stuff to walk over them and stuff. It's just a mess, but it's been that way for a long, long time. The walls of Jerusalem which were broken down, and the gates which were burned with fire. And it still looks bad. After 160 years, no one's cleaned up the mess. It's still there, just as mess can be. This is what we're talking about. This is later on. In fact, this is the modern city of Jerusalem right now. The wall that you see in Jerusalem cuts across this way. The city of David has some walls left in it, but not many. It's more of a shopping bazaar than anything else. But realize there's a deep valley here, and a smaller valley which runs here, right down through here. That's why it's called the Valley Gate. This is up on a knoll. This follows a ridge line. This is the Appalachian Trail. As it goes right up there. If you were to build on it, it's kind of saddled over. Okay, so the idea is he's going to go out the Valley Gate. He's going to go down past the pool, which is here. We'll know it later as the Pool of Siloam. And then past the Refuse Gate. Okay, I'm trying to be nice. Okay, there it is, Refuse Gate. That is because that's what it was. Okay, there you go. And he goes up this side and almost gets up to here. This is what he's going to see. Just right up to here to here. That's all he's going to see. If you look at a topographical map, it makes way more sense. He's going to come out here, down this little valley, make the turn, start up the Kidron Valley, and then he gets stopped and he has to come back. So you can see the big hill that is here, valley, and big valley down here. All right. I love this one because this is a Gustave Doré piece. This is wood, by the way. He made a whole series of Bible stuff out of wood. You can see, these are the lines and stuff within the wood itself. I love those things. It's really good. Printers could even use them if he would have allowed to. They kept them as works of art, but you could actually put ink on them and put a page on it and get an imprint off of the thing. Pretty good. I love Gustave Doré stuff. This gives you an idea of what the gates actually look like. It's an old picture of the Damascus gate. When they say a gate, they mean a gate. It's not just like you open a little, chain link fence and open and close it. It's a gate. Okay? That's why they had court in these gates and stuff like that. It was a structure all to itself. So you're going to have him go out from here, cross the little creek, down, around, past the pool, past the refuse gate, okay? And then up through here. Now they put it in for you so you can see what he's facing. And this is at night, too, by the way. He comes down to here, and then he's going to go back. Here we go. And I found on the fountain gate in the king's pool, Pool Siloam, that there was no room for my animal even to pass. In other words, it got here, whoa, dead end, man. This is bad. I can't climb up to the hill beside me. I'm stuck in the Kidron Valley, and this is what meets. This is how bad it is. It's been that way for 160 years. And they just learned to live around it. Now, say, why is he emphasizing this? Because all of us have things within our life that we have worked around for years, and we just accept it. Because that's the way it's been. It doesn't have to be that way. Things in your life that have been very, very hard for you to work with. Things that you fall in the pit every time it comes along. You can work on that. God, through His power, can help you clean that area that you don't even notice anymore just because you're so used to it. There's a reason. So I went up by night by the valley and viewed the wall, and then I turned back around because I can't get my horse through, and I didn't really want to get off the horse anyway. And so the idea is I turn back around, go back in the valley gate from where I started, and there I am. So take me back home. Here we go. That's what he saw. That's Jerusalem. Mighty Jerusalem, the Jerusalem of David and Solomon, that the Queen of Sheba came to visit and marveled at the structures and the wisdom of Solomon. And now it's been this way for over 150 years. Topographically, you can see how tight it is in the Kidron Valley, right there beside where he would have gone around the corner and then hit rock. And you go, well, why don't you just go around it? You can't go around it. It's everything. There's where you see all the stones plopped up. I love that. And the official did not know where I'd gone or what I'd done. For I had not yet told the Jews, the priests, the nobles, the officials, and the others who eventually will do the work, who will be the we that we're going to put together. He hadn't told anybody anything yet. A lot of times we're the first ones to go talk with a friend, get on Facebook, discuss stuff with everybody else, then pray. How about changing that a little bit and making that a summer thing and just say, look, I've got something coming up. I'm going to pray first. Now, I can ask my friends all their, for their advice and anybody else. Why not go to God first and give God a chance to figure this thing out before all you friends, okay, all y'all, okay, friends, try to figure it out and then ask God to kind of put a blessing on your decision. Why not go to God first and give God a chance? Ready? Now, power of will. And I said to them, you see the distress that any good coach will put himself right out there on the field with the players. Any good teacher will say, we're all in this thing together. When you go in to take the test, I'm going in to take the test with you, so to speak. Okay? I always had fun with that because there's always different kinds of motivation. Okay? There's extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is everywhere in our world. Okay? In school, you got it. You learn this because it's on the test. And you better know it because it's on the test. As a sub, it just grates it because you go in and say, oh good, I know something about this subject. Here, let's talk about it a little bit. Is this going to be on the test? No, but it might be on life. You might want to pass life sometime. Is it on the test? Used to be when I taught that. And it's on the test. Everything comes out of my mouth is on the test. I'll tell you, a salad's more healthy than pizza. It'll probably be on the test. So everything comes out of my mouth, you better write down. And every once in a while I would. Which is healthier, pizza or salad? There you go. While I'm chewing pizza. Here we go. And so we see the distress that we are in. Well, we haven't been there but 3 days. But he's saying, we're in this thing together. He puts himself in it with them. Says, we are in. How Jerusalem lies in waste for 161 years. Thank you very much. And you've been walking all over it. I've been walking over it for 3 or 4 days. But you've been in it for 160-some years. Certainly for the last 90-some years, because that's Zerubbabel till now was about 90 years. And so you guys have been just living with it. Here we go. Lies in waste. Its gates are burned with fire. Come, let us. He doesn't go in an office and say, okay, I'm the administrator. Y'all need to do walls and stuff out here. See to it. Go get them. I'll be in here if you need me. Okay? Eat donuts. Okay? No, he says, come, let us build the wall of Jerusalem that we may be no longer a reproach. All at once, those rocks and stuff take on a whole different thing. They're not just an obstacle anymore. They're a reproach. They're a whole empire back and the ruin that they did to us. That's the Babylonians. Medo-Persians tore them up. And we're still looking like this. We're still looking torn up in this. Now you have extrinsic motivation all over the place. Okay? Do this, you get this. Don't do this, you get this. Okay? The idea is there's another motivation, tougher to achieve, and that's intrinsic. I always remember Ranger Bill. You won't remember Ranger Bill, because Ranger Bill was a Moody Bible Institute production that came out long time ago as radio drama. And I remember it as on syndication. It was great. And it started with the same thing every time. I got it off the internet. They actually had it. It says, Ranger Bill, warrior of the woodlands, struggling against extreme odds, traveling dangerous trails, fighting enemies of nature. And this is the job of the guardian of the forest. Ranger Bill, pouring rain, freezing cold, blistering heat, snows, floods, bears, rattlesnakes, mountain lions. Yes, all this in exchange for the satisfaction and pride of a job well done. Even as a kid, I said, did he get a paycheck? It's like, all for the satisfaction of a job well done. How many people do you know that would probably do their job even if they didn't get paid for it? They're just good at it. They just do it. Some are called teachers. They just do it. They have a gift for it. Now you can train education. I was in education. You can coach somebody up, so to speak, and make them educators. But there are natural born teachers that no matter what you do or where you are, they teach. They just can't help themselves. I'm married to one. Okay? They just do it. You know, it's like, can you turn that off? And the answer is no, I can't. That is intrinsic motivation. That is, I do it from the heart out. Now, where does that fall to us? Because that's real world kind of stuff. Ranger Bill had all kinds of adventures, and the whole idea was to show that you could have Christian character in a secular job. That was the whole purpose. Here's a ranger out there doing his thing, helping campers and, saving people from angry bears and saving people from drowning in the lakes and all kinds of things like that, all for the satisfaction of a job well done. That transcends into real life as well. I think it was in July of 1940, Winston Churchill stood before the House of Commons, not the elites, the commoners. He says, "We shall not fail or flag. We shall go on. In the end, we shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and the oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and strength in the air. We shall defend our little island. Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing ground, we shall fight in the field, we'll fight in the streets, we'll fight in the hills, but we shall never surrender." And that little dog stood alone and galvanized a whole country against a blitzkrieg of just bombs flying everywhere. My father got to see a few of those. He said they just fly over and they just knew how much gas it took, put just enough gas in to make it to London, and then they would just fall and blow up. They were unmanned, and just those little buzz bombs, as they would call them, they just fly in, and he said, they, no rhyme or reason, they'd fall this way and blow up those houses, or fall that way and blow up those houses, no rhyme or reason to it. It was just, one right after the other, after the other, after the other. And that little bulldog stood there and pulled that country all together. Nehemiah says, "And I told them the good hand of God which has been on me, and also of the king's words which were spoken to me." Notice the marrying of the two. Planning and getting his permits and all that kind of stuff together, and then praying to God for his will to be done. You marry those two together, get your planning and all that stuff, all your ducks in a row, but you get God on your side at the same time. What do you get? Big Mo. I love this because I did graduate school in Texas, and they had one of the best announcers on the planet that did Longhorn football. And the Longhorns did really well and really lousy during the time I was there. And it was so sad during the lousy time, once Texas would be doing really good, and then they wouldn't be. And the announcer said, "Uh-oh, Big Mo has gone to the other side of the field." And that means the momentum has gone over there. This is the Big Mo of motivation. And they said, let us rise up and build. Notice it's us. It's including Nehemiah. They're together in this thing. He says, let us rise up and build, and they set their hands to do this good work. Your life is good work. Let your good works be seen so that people can say, glory to God. That's the whole thing. And the fun part is, those are good works, like really pretty good works. You need to do good works. Ready? Here we're about the end. And all God's people said? Amen. Amen. For all you graduates and those folks who are already graduated and doing life as hard as you can go, for I know the thoughts that I have concerning you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. A future and a hope. That God has thoughts of peace and not of evil. We said that statement last week and got so many odd looks. Is that you cannot do anything to have God love you more. And you cannot do anything to have God love you less. God loves you to the uttermost, always. He loves you, period. And I love that where it says, has thoughts of peace, not of evil. Next time Satan reminds you of your past and that you don't deserve it in the past, you remind Satan of his future. God wins. He burns through all eternity. No matter how powerful he feels at this moment, he's a creature destined to fall. Give you a future and a hope. Never surrender. Never, ever, never, ever surrender. God is more powerful. That I speak not in regard of need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. That's Georgia too. That state. Okay, I love it. Any state you're in, even if you're in Cleveland. Okay, here we go. You driven through Cleveland with us? Right, here we go. For I have learned whatever state I am to be content. For I know how to be abased and how to abound. In everything and all things I've learned to be full, and even when I'm hungry, and abound in all things and I suffer need. What? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
No one knows where this thing fits. They all know to quote that one part, and they don't know you've just gone through thick and thin. And both are a challenge. Thin, everybody's got that. Hard times, we all know. We need the Lord. Thick times, when you may get a little extra, you might have some extra time, you might have some extra whatever, energy, whatever else. God's got plans for that as well. Whatever state I am, I'm going to be content because why? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Amen?
Amen.
Enough said. Let's stand up and pray.